Everyone, I'm Debbie from the Cyber Scheme, and I'm here today with Lewis Lockwood, who is from Incursion Cybersecurity. We are having a quick chat because Lewis has just found out that he's been awarded chartered title with the UK Cybersecurity Council, and he went through that assessment process with ourselves at the Cyber Scheme. And we wanted to have a quick chat with Lewis to basically demonstrate to people that the process is not a difficult one. It's a thorough one. It's not difficult if you've got the evidence and you're able to back it up. And also have a quick chat with Lewis about how he found the process, how he found the interview part of the process, because that is the bit that we're getting most questions about, and basically what he thinks about it overall. So hi Lewis, hope you're well. Thank you for joining me today. So first question for you really is, when you decided that you were going to come to the Cyber Scheme for the process, how did you find it from initial application through to interview? Just a quick overview of your sort of top thoughts about it.
So I found it fun, actually, looking back. I think there's a phrase for it, type 2 fun. It's one of those things that when you're doing it, you don't enjoy it. It's just, it feels a little bit painful. It applies to exercise, I think, more than anything else. But when you look back on it, it's actually quite a fun process. It forced me to think back over the last 8 years of my career and sort of analyse those difficult situations I've been in from like a different angle. And I've now got a different appreciation of some jobs I've had where if I was to talk about them just off the top of my head, I'd be going, oh, that was awful. That was really awful. But now I've gone through this process, I really think about it. It's like, actually, it wasn't that bad. I took a lot away from it. The client, in especially in one of the situations, probably took a lot away from it. So, yeah, it's given me a different appreciation of my career, and yeah, made me rethink a lot of things. And I had fun afterwards, I think, looking back at it.
That's great. One of the questions that we get asked is there an issue with putting redacted information in there? Because obviously there are situations where you've got experience that you can't give us full details on. Did you come up against that? Did you get around that in any way? What was your experience of that?
Yeah, so I mean, I transitioned the industry from the military. So when I turned up on day one, I was DV cleared. So pretty much every job I've been on from, or every company I've worked out before starting Incursion, and actually a few while I've been running it, have been at DV level. You just have to. I wrote down everything offline in a way that literally gave everything away in a little notebook, and I just crossed off what I can't say. And then when I started typing it up, I just didn't spill into that page. I had someone review it, Gareth, also DV clear. So yeah, he took a look at it and he said, yeah, you've covered it. There's nothing in there that you can't put in. You can answer those questions in a redacted form and get the information across properly.
Great.
Just got to be careful about what you put down.
Yeah. And you decided when you came to the Cyber Scheme to go down the interview route. We do offer both routes, interview and non-interview. Can you talk to me about why you decided to go down the interview route, and then how you found that when you got to that point of the process?
Yeah, so the reason I went the interview route is the same reason I use the CS Cyber Scheme to do my team leader exam. At the level that we're at, I feel that you need to prove you can be a good consultant as well as a good technician. If you went non-interview route, you could spend 2, 3, 4 months writing your application and make it perfect, submit it, and you get charged. That's fine. But when you go down the interview route, you've got like an hour and a half to have an actual conversation with someone and to verbalize your application. I think that's more it's more real world like applicable. It translates to what we do a lot better than just writing it, especially when you get to sort of the chartership principle level. I think it's important that you've got to be able to verbalize what you do. And for me, I just felt I needed to put myself under that little bit of pressure. Like if I'm a chartered level, I can sit in an interview for an hour and a half, and I can talk to someone and I can show that. If I can't do that, then potentially I should be looking at a level or so below. But
yeah. And it's not a process that's there to trip you up. I mean, I think some people hear the word interview and think, oh my goodness, I'm on display. I'm going to be given questions that are impossible to answer. I'm going to trip myself up. But actually, tell me about your experience from that point of view.
Yeah, so I was given a number of options on when to sit that interview. One of them was 3 days time. Then I was on site for 2 weeks, and then the rest was like 3, 4 weeks later. And I thought, if I wait 3 or 4 weeks, I'm going to massively overthink this, and I will potentially trip myself up before I even turn up. So I took the 3-day option, and I thought, everyone told me that was a mistake, that I needed to prepare. But I thought, you know what, if I'm ready, I'm ready. And when I first got in there, one of the first things that was said is, yes, this is an interview, but it's more of a conversation. There was points during that time where I don't think I said anything for 3 or 4 minutes, because it was more of a conversation about me and my experience, as opposed to, here's a question, I'm trying to trip you up. Like, yeah. So I think taking it on such short notice was definitely the right thing to do, because I will overthink it. But it's just a conversation about me, my career, my experiences, and my thoughts on the situation, and my thoughts on the sector going forward, the industry going forward. So if you're ready for it, just take it as a fun conversation with a like-minded individual.
And how long did your interview go on for?
A little over the initial hour, I think an hour 15, something like that. We didn't use a full hour and a half, because I think there's a buffer. There's an hour to an hour and a half, and I was somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, great. And without putting you on the spot, have you got any tips? I mean, your application, we thought at the Cyber Scheme was particularly strong, which is why we're talking to you today, because it's an example of what we see as what good looks like. So obviously people coming in and filling in their applications don't see what anyone else is doing unless they're doing it in a joint group in their organisation.
Sure.
And we do have a huge variety of types of answers, length of answers, the amount of detail people have gone into. And we don't want to be pushing this back on people and saying, can you try again? We want to be able to give people enough opportunity to get it right first time. So my question to you is there anything that you would say is an example of what you thought, I really need to concentrate and do a good job on this. I really need to make this part of the application as thorough as I can, because I know that this is what they're going to be looking for.
So it's a tricky one, because I spent quite a lot of time on the application, but over a very short period of time. I've got a young family at home. My wife said, look, I can take the kids away for 3 days. Can you get it done in 3 days? I was like, yes, I can. So Friday through Sunday, I was basically sat on my computer for like 14 hours a day. But that's the way I work. I throw absolutely everything at the wall, see what sticks, and then I go from there. So some of my answers when I did my first draft were half a page long. One of them was 5 pages long. So I just basically read the question, throw everything at it, and then read the question again. That was my approach. And I realized that a lot of the stuff I was putting on the page didn't match the question. So I cut that away. And there's a few things that were missing, and I just kept adding it in. And I just went through this process of read question, write answer, read answer, and repeated it. And then after a while, my answer met the question. And clearly it was as you just said, it was a strong application. So I didn't know that. Thank you very much. I just kept answering it. I think in one of them, I actually changed the scenario 3 times, and I actually ended up starting that process 3 times over, because I realized that what I was writing just didn't meet the question. So it's just a process of just keep going, keep pushing it. Sooner or later, you will read your answer and say, yeah, that's good enough.
It's not a tick box exercise. I mean, I know that this community is used to taking certs, quite long exams, quite technical exams, and sometimes we get the impression that people are treating this like another badge. And what we have to say is, no, this is about you as an individual. It's beyond your technical skills. You've already proved that you've got those by doing the CTL or the CTM. But what we're looking at is you as a well-rounded individual, how you've approached different scenarios, how you've reacted in different ways. And the more experience and the more examples of that you can show, the more thorough your application is, and the more likely we're going to say, yep, this is giving us a good demonstration of your competency. So I like your idea of just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. I think that's a really good way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first started, I tried to have a unique scenario for each question. And then I realized, I mean, that's why I changed that one question I'm thinking of specifically 3 times over, because I kept trying to come up with something new and come up with something new. And I realized that actually a particularly difficult a job I did it was like a repeat phase job over a period of 6 months, that ticked off quite a lot of the answers. So I just took different aspects of that one job, and I think in one case I used the same aspect twice because it just fits. Because as you just said, it's not a capture the flag type thing. I'm not trying to find a unique flag for every single question. Like, it's okay, I think, to use the same experience a few times over if it demonstrates each individual thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously there's different levels of professional title, and when you're coming in at practitioner or principal level, chances are that you won't have that many incidents that you can draw on. So you're absolutely right. We're not looking for number of experiences. It's the breadth and the depth of the experience that you've got, and it could be just on one job. Thank you very much for your time today. One more question for you.
Sure.
You made the decision to become chartered.
Mm-hmm.
What was your motivation for that, just very quickly? And do you think that the industry will benefit from this route that we've gone down? What's your overall sort of viewpoint on that?
So I'll split that into two. So personal motivation was I came in this industry late. I went to university. I didn't do anything cybersecurity or even IT related at all. It was a law degree. Joined the military. I did intelligence analyst for 8 years. Didn't touch it, and then I came into this. So I constantly got this like imposter syndrome that I'm constantly trying to fight. So I thought if I can go for chartered and I can get chartered, it's just another little reason to tell myself that I am doing the right thing and I'm good enough. So I went for it as more of a personal challenge. I felt that if I went principal, I would have been okay getting it. I've got the certifications. I think I'd been good there, but I wanted to challenge myself. In terms of like how I think this will affect the industry, and positively in one word, I think it's gonna. When I entered the industry, it was always your goal is to become a check team leader. So therefore, everything you do, you've got to learn how to pass that exam or learn how to be technically that good. So I'd always be in the early days on jobs thinking, right, what's he done? What tool is he using? What technique is he using? I cared more about the way they did the testing than how they interacted with customers, how they dealt with anything else. And I probably let my wider knowledge of the industry just like lapse for a year or so. And then I realized that I wanted to start consultancy one day. So I started paying attention to everything else. For the people that don't want to start consultancy, this will force them to pay attention to everything else. Because the end goal will no longer be passing an exam, it will be gaining chartership. And gaining chartership needs a lot more than just, can you find that flag? So I think it will force people earlier in their careers to pay attention to the wider industry. And that's only a good thing. That can only be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. Well, thank you very much for your time today. That's been...
No worries.
I will pass that on to all of those people out there that have not yet completed their applications, and hopefully it'll give them a bit of assurance that it's a process that is doable and achievable and worth it as well at the end of the day.
Fantastic. Ben, yeah, thanks for thinking of me when you came to do this.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.